I never thought I would write something here. I've always been way too skeptical to believe in random people on Reddit. But honestly, something weird, or at the very least, off, is happening to me. I don't know if it's just me or if this place, this farm, has something to do with it. But I feel like if I don't let it out, I'm gonna lose my mind for real. Maybe it's just loneliness. Being alone in the middle of nowhere can mess with your head. But okay, let me start from the beginning. I inherited my great-great-grandmother's farm last month. That's where I'm living now. It was one of those unexpected inheritances, the kind that shows up in a beige envelope with official letterhead and old paper smell. The message was straightforward. Your name is eligible as the next caretaker of the family property, following the wishes of Ms. Hilda, as stated in the will archived at the City Hall. We request your presence for the official transfer of ownership. Basically, no one else wanted it, so it ended up with me. When I was reading through the will, which came with the summons, I noticed that only women were allowed to inherit the farm. I thought that was kind progressive of her. But that's just a guess. No one in my family ever really wanted to talk about her. Everything I know came from a few drunken slips at family celebrations or whispers when flipping through old photo albums with my grandma. What I do know is that Ms. Hilda was a nature lover. She built a perfectly balanced lifestyle where the animals on the farm lived in complete harmony with her. No grooming, no fences, no sacks of feed. Each animal seemed to know its role, and somehow they all worked together to keep this artificial ecosystem thriving with life. She never had kids, unlike her sister, my direct ancestor, who married a businessman from a nearby town. So when Hilda died, the place was just left behind. No one wanted to give up the comforts of modern life. And just as that the farm was frozen in time, big city, luxury, entertainment, convenience, none of the newer generations were willing to trade that to live like she did. Being serious, I only ended up here because my financial life was circling the drain. I was in debt even to the pharmacy down the street. So when I got the inheritance papers, I saw it as my last chance to start over. And maybe to find myself again. To reconnect. Find meaning. But trying to do that out here hasn't been easy. As much as I feel connected and even happy sometimes, there are these waves, cold ones, that make every hair on my body stand on end, and I just want to pack everything up and go back to my dad's home. But at first, everything seemed fine. I arrived yesterday, alone. After more than 4 hours of driving, twisting through dirt roads, red clay hills, and eucalyptus groves that bent with the wind like they were whispering to each other. When I finally pulled up to the gate, I was hit by a wall of heavy heat. Crossing through those rust-covered iron gates felt like stepping into a temporal bubble, framed in moss. The vegetation here is radiant, lush, and dense. The garden looks freshly tended. The trees are heavy with fruit, almost begging to be picked. The air smells of earth and wild greenery. But there's something else in it too, something fermented. Like life itself drifts through the breeze and fertilizes everything it touches. The closest I can describe the scent is musk. A fragrance of sweat, skin, and blooming things. It feels like I'm constantly wrapped in it, embraced by something I can't quite see. But what really threw me off, what really made me shiver in a weird and silent way, was the animals, chickens, goats, pigs, ducks, even some dogs, all moving together like a peaceful little society. No piles of droppings, no broken plants, no mess, just calm coordination. It was like the entire environment had formed its own routine to survive. Beautifully. I'm a city girl, raised in an apartment, but even I know things aren't supposed to be this tidy. I still want to double check if someone's been living here, because honestly, if some guy just shows up out of nowhere, I'm gonna lose it. There aren't any fences around the property, and I don't trust the doors or windows. They're all wooden and flimsy, in worse shape than my bank account. After spending several minutes completely hypnotized by the whole place, I parked the car and started unloading some of the boxes into the house. Now let me talk a bit about the house. It's huge. I settled into the oldest wing, built from stone and rammed earth. It's way more preserved than the Victorian-style front, which has already been half devoured by time and termites. That rustic part of the house drew me in right away. It holds a locked room I haven't found the key to yet, the staircase to the second floor, and what used to be my great-great-grandmother's bedroom. Stepping inside felt like walking into a historical drama set. Everything still in place. The wardrobe, the carved mirror frame, the old books leaning on the shelves. It was like she could walk through the door at any moment, lay down on the embroidered sheets, and pick up where she left off. That thought gives me chills if I think about it too much. There was no way I was going to sleep in that bed, so I headed back to the car and grabbed my trusty inflatable mattress. I had been dragging that thing around since my days in the Scouts. Still haven't worked up the nerve to lie on the actual bed. The pillows are still fluffed like they're waiting for someone. So, no way. I woke up this morning wanting to be productive. I was gently awakened by the golden light of the sun slipping through the slats of the old shutter. That kind of light that carries a fine, magical dust, dancing in the air like the day itself is whispering secrets. I got up, still in my oversized sleep shirt, and went to rummage through one of the boxes that I left in the kitchen to make myself some breakfast. The kitchen is enormous. One of the biggest rooms in the house, easily. In the center stands a massive island, surrounded by charming little navy blue cabinet doors, their paint peeling beautifully with age. Came closer and touched the sink, turned the faucet, expecting nothing but dry clanking, and to my surprise, water came gushing out. At first, it spewed rust, sludge, insects I didn't recognize, and this awful smell, metallic and putrid. But after a few seconds, it cleared. The water turned clean, crystal clear. Almost sparkling, I braced for a clog. But when I opened one of the small cabinet doors under the sink, I found a wide, black iron pipe, thicker than my wrist. I thought to myself, things really were built to last. I even smiled. I ran my hand under the water. It was fresh, cool, pure. Top-tier well water, I muttered. I felt lighter, hopeful even. Ready to start the day. I went back to the car to grab the rest of my things, more food, dishcloths, sponges, kitchen supplies, even some old spices that were stuffed in the back of the cupboard in my last apartment, the one I got kicked out of, by the way. And I also brought in the cutlery. I forgot it before, and sadly I'm not Wolverine's daughter to be able to cut something without needing knives. When I got to the side door of the kitchen, the one that opens to the yard, the first weird thing hit me. A pig. A big one, with a white patch on its face. It was massive and looked pretty old. It stared at me for a long while as I awkwardly tried to open the stuck door without dropping the box I was carrying. Eventually, I gave up and set the box down. The moment I did that, the pig casually walked up and, with an unnervingly natural push, shoved the door open. Then it just trotted off like it had somewhere to be. I swear, someone must have been living here. There's no way a pig just understands intent like that. It was kind of cute. A little unsettling, sure. I keep forgetting how massive pigs can be. I picked up the box again, set it on the counter, and went back for the rest, this time jamming a stone into the door to keep it from shutting. Once everything was finally inside, I wiped down the counters and made myself a quick sandwich while watching the animals through the big window above the main sink. The sunlight filtered through the window, catching the old embroidered curtain. Even tattered and faded, it was still beautiful. Delicate, the lace filtered the light, casting soft patterns of shadows and glow across the tiles. It was one of those calm, poetic little moments that make you feel grateful to be alive. So I stepped closer to the window, letting the sun hit my face. That's when I saw them, the spiders. Small, brown ones with long, thin legs and delicate thread-like bodies. At first, from a distance, I thought they were just specks of dust or dirt on the curtain. I seriously need new glasses. But when I got closer, I realized they were moving with precision. They were working together. And the weirdest part, they were weaving a single web. One unified, spiraled, symmetrical pattern, fluid and deliberate. Almost like a choreographed dance among silken threads. And the design matched the curtain. The spiders were copying the embroidery. My brain just froze. Do spiders do that? Do they have visual memory? Can they replicate human-made patterns? How do they even communicate something like that? I thought about grabbing my phone to take a photo, but something made me hesitate. Like photographing it would violate something sacred. I turned back to look outside again, still dazed by what I'd just seen. That's when I realized I was being watched all that time. A group of geese stood at the edge of the yard, just near the hedges that lined the path to one of the gardens. Their necks were fully stretched, all eyes locked on me, unblinking, perfectly still. Those eyes, I was paralyzed. My chest tightened with that eerie, primal sense that you're being sized up. They weren't honking, flapping, pecking at the ground, literally nothing. Just stillness, deep, heavy silence. Like they were measuring me. After what felt like minutes, I stepped a bit closer to the window. That's when, as if someone had flipped a switch, they all turned and began waddling in single file toward the bushes, their plump behinds bobbing side to side like nothing had happened. It was a strange mix of relief and embarrassment, getting spooked by birds with fluffy butts who eat lettuce and worms. Still, something instinctive lingered. I closed the curtains. Carefully, trying not to disturb the little lace weavers still tirelessly at work. I finished my sandwich and tried to move on with the day. Took my things to the bedroom, cleaned out the dresser, sorted the pantry, opened some of the windows I could manage, let the air circulate. I scrubbed the living room floor, wiped the kitchen and bedroom moldings, and tried to get rid of the black mildew growing in the corners, but no luck. I'll try using bleach tomorrow. I also opened the wooden blinds in my great-great-grandmother's room. The place feels not haunted exactly, but dense. The air smells like cedar and some kind of faint floral sweetness. Her clothes are still in the wardrobe. Her handkerchiefs are still folded. The old perfume bottles still have liquid inside. I didn't touch much, just enough to dust around. Last night I had to shove the old bed to the side to fit my inflatable mattress. Only in daylight did I notice the wood beneath it is darker, more porous. It scratches easily, probably explains the smell. After that, I made some food, watched a couple of movies, and worked on a freelance project I need to submit next week. When night came, I used my little portable stove to heat some water for a bath. That part felt strange too, but I figured it was just the surreal vibe of showering in a place that feels like a movie set. For some reason, there's no mirror in the bathroom. Afterwards, I made a bit of pasta and got ready for bed. That's when something truly bizarre happened. And why I decided to write all of this here, I was already in bed, about to sleep, flipping through some old notes I found in one of the bedside tables. Just lists of herbs and homemade remedies. Ordinary stuff. The window was cracked open, letting in the smell of damp earth from the garden, and a chilly breeze that made the curtains sway. I got up to close the curtains, and that's when I felt it, a chill on the back of my neck. A silence so dense it didn't feel like the absence of sound, but the presence of something that didn't want to be heard. I leaned closer to the window, trying to spot movement. And then I saw him, the old pig, frozen, his huge shadow split by a stripe of moonlight, standing right at the edge of the trees, where the dark begins. He wasn't making a sound, wasn't moving, just staring directly into my eyes. And it wasn't the vacant, curious stare of a farm animal. It was locked in, intentional, too aware. Like he was analyzing me, judging me, that same look a teacher gives when they know you're about to lie. That look that crawls under your skin. My breath caught in my throat. My knees felt weak. My mind flashed back to the geese. I shut the curtains, fast, took a few steps back, then stood in the middle of the room, frozen, waiting to hear something. Hoof steps, a grunt, anything. But I heard nothing. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's just the isolation. Maybe I'm cracking. But still, has anyone ever seen anything like this? Maybe I'm overreacting. I've never lived with animals. I was raised downtown, surrounded by streetlights and concrete. I know pigs can be smarter than dogs, but that look was something else. The glint in those dark eyeballs, glowing faintly in the moonlight, it's still gnawing at me while I write this. Sometimes I think that if I open the window again, it'll be there, right in front of my face. I can almost feel his breath. Smell it, like he's still here. Maybe I'm just being paranoid. Sometimes when my eyes glimpse the curtains, I see his shadow on them, closer than ever to the window. Maybe these animals are just curious. Maybe they've never seen a human before. But some part of me can't shake the feeling that I'm not alone out here, and that this farm remembers things I don't understand yet. Tomorrow I'm going to keep searching for the keys. Maybe they'll open more than just doors. Tonight feels darker than the one before, and the silence, It carries a different weight now. The air feels even denser, like I could reach out and touch it as I write this. Everything seems damper, and me, I'm just breathing, like someone trying to convince their own body not to collapse. I don't know if I'm writing this to stay sane, to ask for help, or just to drown out the sound of whatever might come from the window. Sleep feels like either an act of courage or surrender. Last night I didn't really sleep. It was more like a long, dragging passage through dreams soaked in dread and images that refused to dissolve even when the day arrived. I dreamed I was sinking into mud, the kind of mud that has no end, that pulls you down inch by inch while the air in your lungs gets heavier, denser, harder to grasp. I was in a pigsty, trapped in a dark barn. There was no sound, no snorting, no footsteps, just them staring at me. Motionless, still. Dozens of pigs surrounding me with eyes dark as engine oil, as hollow as the darkness swallowing that place. They didn't grunt, didn't move, didn't blink. They simply bore witness to my descent, and the worst part was that there was something in their gaze that reflected my own despair. As if I were just another one, another number in a long line of repetitions inside their memories. They remembered something, and they seemed to blame me for it. I woke with my chest aching, the sheets clinging to my body soaked in cold sweat. The room felt darker than I remembered. I sat on the edge of the inflatable mattress, the floor cold under my bare feet, staring into nothing until the trembling in my hands began to ease. I felt ridiculous, vulnerable, and strangely sad. The kind of sadness you feel when you miss yourself, when you remember all the times you ran away, from conversations, from commitments, from people, from dreams, from your own reflection. I've always been good at running, and now I'm trapped. Literally surrounded by overgrown vegetation, by memories, by eyes that always seem to be watching. I thought about my father. He knows where I am, but couldn't even be bothered to respond to my last message. I thought about Vanessa, my most loyal friend, the only one who helped me pack when I was evicted. Just her. Only she truly listens. But I can't bring myself to send her what I'm writing here. Not yet. Maybe because part of me still thinks I'm exaggerating, that I'm overreacting. Or maybe because if I say it out loud, if I share it, it becomes real. The comments I got here made me think. One of them suggested that maybe the animals were judging me for not following the rules my great-great-grandmother used to live by. And that hit me hard. What if it's true? What if this place runs on its own code and I, just a stranger, am breaking everything just by breathing out of sync? So I decided to try something different. Instead of keeping my distance and simply observing, I decided to follow what someone suggested: be kind. Interact, feed the animals, show up, try, in some small way, to become part of the rhythm and harmony my ancestors seemed to have nurtured here. The morning sun was diffuse, unlike the day I arrived. The sky was veiled in soft clouds and the air was milder. I left the house with a basket I found in the pantry and a firm goal in my chest. I was going to connect. The garden was vast, bursting with different vegetables and greens, some vibrant and fresh, others painted in dense, dark tones. I recognized pumpkins, zucchinis, tomatoes, kale, but many others I wouldn't even know how to name. Some had fine hairs on their stalks, others were coated with a thin, slick film on their leaves. Each plant had its own texture, its own rhythm, forming a landscape of edible wilderness. While exploring, something on the beaten earth caught my attention. Two large, shaggy-haired dogs were carefully unearthing beets and carrots, digging with surgical precision, as if they knew exactly where to go. They didn't sniff around. They just knew. I approached slowly, and they didn't growl, just kept their distance. I offered the nicest carrot I picked. One took it gently, and both bolted off. As I followed them with my eyes, I saw something stranger on the far edge of the garden. A small group of mice, tiny, agile, and remarkably organized, hidden among the leaves, were carrying mushrooms in a kind of dark, round tuber, almost furry, like tiny black pom-poms. They were dragging them in single file toward a tree in the distance. About a kilometer from the house, I followed their trail and found myself face to face with a massive tree. But not just any tree. It was dead. Colossal and hollow. The trunk split wide open, with a wound large enough for a person to curl up inside. The only tree among dozens that looked extinguished, but even so, it was smothered in life. Dense moss, winding vines, an entire city of mushrooms clinging to its bark. And the thing that seized my eyes the most was the slime. A viscous, wet kind of mold pulsing at the center of the hollow wound. It shimmered green-blue with a gelatinous sheen. Fine strands reached out from it, vein-like, wrapping slowly around the inner bark like hungry, ghostly fingers. I took a photo, looked it up on my phone, and found something called Physarum polycephalum, a primitive organism that behaves almost like it has a nervous system. Not a plant, not fungus, not an animal, something else entirely. A unity. A body that thinks, but this one wasn't like the photos. It was larger, denser, with that strange, pale blue glow and an almost intelligent pulse to its presence. I drew closer, watched it breathe, watched the dew slide across its flesh like rain on skin. That's when it hit me. A memory struck me like a rusted blade, sharp, sudden, leaving something infected in its wake. I was 13. My father and I were driving upstate in the middle of a violent storm. Rain slashed the windshield, and then a thud. He hit a deer. The sound was so dry, so final. Blood splattered the glass, thick and dark, only to be washed away slowly by the useless jerking wipers. I remember the smell of iron, the noise of my dad's breathing as he stepped out, rain soaking his back, dragging the deer's body to the edge of the muddy road. The animal was still twitching, gasping, unwilling to die. Its eyes met mine through the glass, huge, round, terrified. I couldn't help. I didn't know how. I just stared. Back in the present, I blinked and realized all the mice were watching me, frozen at the mouth of the tree's hollow gut. 15, 20, maybe more. Their eyes gleamed like tiny beads, shining, still. They stared at me like I'd just interrupted something sacred. And then they ran, all at once, back into the tunnel. But something in me, curiosity, fear, or sheer stupidity, made me follow. I tried to grab one. Everything felt so unreal, like I was dreaming with my eyes open. The mouse dropped the tuber it had been carrying and bit my hand. The pain was sharp and dirty. Its little teeth punctured my skin like needles. I screamed. Blood welled instantly. The others vanished into the wet, pulsing dark of the roots. Hand throbbing, I looked into the hollow, and I saw 2 eyes, large, iris, pupil, and sclera. It was human, floating in the dark, not moving, cloudy, dull, dead. But they saw me. I know they did. The pale blue slime coated them like an open wound left to rot in moonlight. My entire body locked up. Tears welled uncontrollably. Those eyes, they latched onto mine like fishhooks. I started backing away before I even realized I was moving. I scrambled, tearing my skin on bark and leaf, the cold earth sticking to my knees and elbows as I crawled. Panicked spasms threw me backward. I pushed myself upright, trying to get enough control over my legs to run. While crouched, half standing, half collapsing, I saw it. One of the mice, dragging one of those eyes in its mouth like a marble. The nausea hit me like a punch. I fell again, vomit rising fast and sour. My hands broke my fall, but that only brought me closer to the hollow. Instinctively, I pushed forward to stay balanced. And that's when I felt it, burning. Not like alcohol, not like heat. Something living entered my skin through the open wound. It slipped into the cracks of my flesh, embedded itself in the bite, and filled the cut like molten wax. It was hot, sharp, consuming. I yanked my hand back, screaming. The slime clung to me, thick as glue. I didn't think. I scraped my hand furiously in the dirt. I felt the bark, the mud, the stones, all of it grinding against my open wound, taking blood with them. But I didn't stop. I had to get it off. When the panic faded and I was sure I wasn't going to die on the spot, I stood. My legs felt like hollow branches. My vision swam, but I ran. I ran until I was back at the house, turning the kitchen faucet, letting the water rinse the blood and slime down the drain. Cold water. Too much soap. The pain in my hand matched the beating of my heart. Then, the smell. That same sickly sweet, bile-like scent I'd noticed the first day. It was coming from the drain. I refused to think about it. I sat on the kitchen floor, pressing a cloth against the wound. The tiles were cold, and the water was still running, diluting the blood into pale pink spirals. My body trembled. I didn't know if it was from pain or from terror. Maybe both. I didn't want to look outside again. I couldn't bear the idea of being seen. That sensation of eyes on me had returned. Heavier than ever, I went to the bedroom. The smell of the slime lingered on the back of my tongue. I could still taste it, like mold and metal. I found the first aid kit, bandaged the bite, and checked my phone. It was almost 6 p.m. I left for the garden around 10 a.m. What I thought would be a quick errand had become an 8-hour descent into madness. I hadn't eaten all day. The lunch I'd planned to cook, it had been left back there. With that thing, before I could decide what to do, I heard something outside. Something being dragged. I crept toward the front window, peering through the dirty glass. The basket, it was there. Left on the porch table, everything intact. And more, on top of the vegetables nestled between the greens were 7 black tubers, just like the ones the mice had been carrying. I froze. Then, driven by something I couldn't name, I opened the door, grabbed the basket, and shut it behind me fast. Didn't look around. Didn't breathe. Inside, I washed every vegetable obsessively. Nothing had bite marks. Everything looked fresh, like something had harvested it and left it for me. I didn't know if it was a gift or a warning. I picked up one of the dark tubers. It felt solid, earthy. I sliced it open with a small knife. Inside was soft, spongy, aromatic, familiar. It was a truffle, a real black truffle. Excitement surged through me. My heart started racing. Money, a second chance, a secret I could control. Maybe this was how my great-great-grandmother survived. A trained ecosystem, a farm that sustained itself and rewarded those who respected it. I grabbed a larger knife. I was going to cut the rest. I wanted to weigh them, list them, start planning who to sell to, which restaurants would pay. And then I looked up. He was there, the white-patched pig, standing on its hind legs, paws braced against the kitchen external walls. So close I could see the condensation from his breath fogging the glass. He was staring at the truffles. Or maybe at me. Saliva dripped from his mouth, thick and blue. Mixed with blood, in his teeth truffle flesh, and scraps of something pink and soft. He knew pigs are truffle hunters. And he was starving. I gripped the knife tightly. Every part of my body told me to run, to scream, to fight, but some ancient instinct overruled it all. I let go of the blade, opened the window, just a crack, grabbed the last whole truffle, tossed it. He didn't move, didn't blink. He knew there was more, hand shaking. I gathered the sliced pieces, the crumbs, every last bit. Threw them out. Then I heard it. A noise I will never forget. Not chewing. Not grunting, something deeper. A gurgling growl, like bile from the throat of something long dead. It shook my spine. He dropped to all fours and devoured everything. Gnashing, gulping, slobbering, tearing, and then silence. I closed the window, locked it, ran to my room. I barricaded the door with a chair, shut the wooden shutters, sat on the mattress, shivering, waiting. And now here I am. In the dark, the battery on my phone is dying. My backup charger is in the living room, and I'm too scared to fetch it. I've taken 3 sleeping pills, but sleep won't come because my body knows what my mind can't yet accept. I don't know if what I saw today was real. I don't know if I'll laugh about it tomorrow, but right now, this very moment, that thing out there saw me. It knows who I am, and it doesn't want me here. I need answers. I will get them. Tomorrow I'm finding the keys, and I'm going to open every door of this house. Day 3. 7:12. I didn't sleep again. The pills made my body heavy, but my mind kept twitching, replaying everything: the hollow tree, the eyes, the bite, the way the pig stared through the glass like he could smell the panic rising from my skin. But something changed overnight. Not outside. Inside, the wound on my hand had closed faster than it should have. The skin where the slime entered, it's not red anymore. It's a strange shade of pale gold, like old parchment, with tiny dark lines running beneath it like veins or roots. It doesn't hurt, it itches. But worse than that, I keep hearing something, not voices, not animals, a rhythm, like a slow pulsing beat. Thump, thump, pause, thump. It's not coming from outside. It's coming from the house, or maybe under it. 803. I found the keys. They weren't hidden in a drawer or behind a painting like I expected. They were given to me. I stepped into the hallway to grab a broom and nearly tripped because there, at the foot of the stairs, sat a small woven basket, inside an old iron ring with 6 large keys. Tied to the handle, a piece of yellowed paper. The handwriting on it was impossibly neat. You are watched. You are weighed. And now you must choose, obey the rhythm, or be broken by it. There was no signature. But I recognized the paper. It matched the pages from Hilda's bedside notes. The animals didn't bring it. I didn't hear a sound. But it was there, waiting. I took the keys, and now I'm standing in front of the locked door at the end of the hallway, the one I hadn't dared to open since arriving. It smells like iron here, and wet stone. And something sweeter now, too, like flowers left too long in a vase. The first key fits, 8 to 34. Behind the door was a staircase. Stone, narrow, leading downward, not to a basement, not to a root cellar, to something older. There's no light down there. The walls are carved with shallow symbols, spirals, seed shapes, branching lines like mycelium. The air is warm, breathing. I took my phone flashlight and stepped down, holding the walls for balance. About 20 steps in, I saw it. A room carved directly into the earth. Not by hands, not completely. More like shaped over time, like the land grew it. At the center, a wide bowl made of petrified wood. Inside it, layers of dried herbs, bones, and dark soil. A kind of altar, and behind that, covering the far wall, a tapestry. Woven from coarse, golden threads and black matted fibers. It was a map. A cycle, life, death, rebirth. Seasons, moons. Animals arranged in a circle, but at the center a human figure. Eyes closed, arms open. And from her chest, roots extended downward into a black abyss. The face was blurred, almost rubbed away by time. But I swear it looked familiar, like mine. I should have felt scared, but I didn't. I felt calm, like the room was waiting for me, like it knew me. I reached out to touch the tapestry and the ground shivered beneath me. Not an earthquake. A pulse, the same one I've been hearing all morning. Louder now. Thump. Thump. Pause. Thump. Then something answered it. Above me, in the house, a knock. 3 knocks. Someone's at the front door. 8:36 a.m. I haven't moved. I'm still holding the keys. 3 knocks. Not loud, not urgent, but deliberate, like someone knocking to wake a sleeping house, not just its occupant. I took a breath and stepped toward the front door. The floor creaked beneath my weight, a slow protest, like the house itself didn't want me to go. My hand trembled as I reached for the latch. The door opened with a groan, and no one, just mist. A pale, creeping morning fog had slithered over the fields while I was underground. The world outside looked half dissolved, like an old photograph left out in the rain. But there was something else. Footprints. Not boot prints, not paws. Something in between, hoof-like, but longer, as if stretched by age. They were embedded in the moist earth just beyond the threshold leading away from the house, away from the porch. Toward the willow tree near the western slope, the one I hadn't dared explore yet, there was something hanging from its lowest branch. A scarf, dark blue. Faded. I recognized it. It was my mother's. I hadn't seen it in over 10 years. She left it behind the night she disappeared. 8:54 a.m. The mist is thicker now, and I'm not sure if I should call it fog anymore. It moves against the wind. It pulses, and it follows me with a low rustling sound, like silk dragging across a forest floor. I took the scarf. It's real. The threadbare stitching, the faint scent of old jasmine oil she used to wear it behind her ears. It shouldn't be here. It never should have been here. I don't even remember talking about my mother to anyone. Not my father. Not Vanessa. Not even out loud. I looked back at the house and noticed something else. There's a figure in the upstairs window. Not moving. Not waving. Just present. I know no one's up there. The second floor's been locked since I arrived and I haven't used any of the keys yet. But still, it watches. Like the pig. Like the geese. Something in this place is learning me. 912. I finally used the second key. It unlocked the small study at the back of the house, the one that always smelled faintly of ink and vinegar. Inside books, dozens of them. Not novels, ledgers, diaries, maps, sketches of plants I can't name, diagrams of animal skeletons, pages written in multiple hands in at least 4 different languages. And then I found something new. A photo, old, sepia-toned, curled at the corners. It was Hilda, standing barefoot on the grass, arms outstretched, surrounded by 6 other women, all wearing white faces obscured by age and light, like the photo refused to remember them clearly. But in the bottom right corner, scrawled in a faint, almost frantic hand, the visitors arrive when the land is out of balance. Do not mistake silence for peace. Feed the memory. Or be fed to it. The wind shifted outside. The mist thinned only for a moment, and in that brief window of clarity, I saw something move near the edge of the field. Tall, bent, walking on 2 legs, but not human. Something wrapped in moss and rags, and when it turned its head, I saw the shape of antlers. 9:38 a.m. I locked every door. I closed every curtain. I lit 3 candles I found in a drawer beside the old typewriter. One sputtered and died immediately. The second burns low. The third flares and flickers like it's breathing. I think the visitor has come not to attack, to remember, and it's remembering through me. I held the scarf in both hands, and for the first time in years, I wept without control. The kind of crying that comes not from fear or grief, but recognition. My mother was here. At least once, maybe always. And now, I have to decide, do I open the rest of the doors? Or do I follow the footprints into the field? I think I know what Hilda would have done. But I'm not Hilda. Not yet. 6:47 a.m. I woke up with soil under my fingernails, the kind of rich, dark earth you find deep beneath the surface, cold, wet, and clinging like something alive. I don't remember leaving the house, but my feet are filthy. My mattress is damp with dew. There's moss in my hair. The scarf is gone. I don't know what's worse, the idea that I sleepwalked, or the idea that I didn't. 7:23 a.m. One of the kitchen chairs has been dragged into the hallway. On it, a jar, glass, thick, sealed with wax. Inside a faintly glowing liquid the same bluish hue as the slime from the hollow tree. Floating in it a tooth. Human, adult molar. Clean, whole, no decay. Next to the jar, a folded note. Handwritten, each keeper must give a piece of the body. So the land remembers the shape of her name. I stared at it for minutes. No explanation, no signature. Just the sound of the faucet dripping behind me, like a ticking clock. Like a question that's already been asked too many times. 9:10. I returned to the stone chamber beneath the house. I brought the keys. I brought the photo. The mist had cleared. The sun was harsh. Too harsh. It bleached the world of softness and made everything too real, like the light was trying to peel away secrets. When I reached the altar, something was different. The tapestry had changed. The face in the center blurred before was now clear. It was mine. Eyes closed, arms open, chest blooming with dark roots. I dropped the photo. The wind didn't move it. Nothing moved. Even the insects were quiet. A second later, something moved in the shadows behind the tapestry. Not an animal, not a person. A shape, tall, feminine, draped in fabric and leaves. Skin like bark, hair like straw. No face, just an indentation where the eyes should have been, carved by time. She stepped forward, not walking, unfolding from the wall, like she had been grown there, waiting. She didn't speak. She just raised a hand and pointed to the jar. It was already in my hand. I didn't even remember bringing it. I stepped forward. My feet moved without asking me. I placed the jar in the center of the altar. She nodded, or maybe the air around her bent in agreement. Then slowly, her bark-skinned hand extended. One long, mossy finger reached toward me and gently touched my bandaged hand, where the mouse had bitten me. Heat surged from the wound, not painful, more like recognition, like shaking hands with something ancient inside my own blood. My mouth opened, uninvited, and I whispered a name I had never heard before. Aelra. The chamber pulsed. The roots on the walls twitched. The jars around the room, I hadn't even noticed them, began to glow. Hundreds of them, all filled with liquid, all containing something: a nail, a tooth, a braid of hair, a bone carved with runes, each one a piece of a woman. A previous keeper, and now one of mine. 1022. I staggered out of the chamber into the light like a newborn deer. My vision blurred. My thoughts jumbled, but something was different. The animals outside had gathered, not just the geese. The pig, the goats, all of them, standing, watching, but this time they bowed. Each one, slowly, one after the other, the last to bow the white-patched pig. His eyes still unnerving, still ancient. But now he looked at me not with suspicion, with acknowledgement. I felt it, in my skin, in my blood, in the ache of the bite that was no longer a wound. The land had accepted the offering, but not the deal. Not yet. 11:15. I went back to the study. There, buried in one of the books, I found it, The Pact, written in Latin, translated awkwardly in the margins. It's not a metaphor. It's a literal agreement, a bloodline bond. To feed the land with memory is to let it feed from you. You shall walk in daylight, but carry roots in your shadow. It's not just about living here, or keeping animals. This land lives through the women it remembers. Caretakers are not owners. They are hosts, wombs of continuity. And every generation, the land chooses. My great-great-grandmother chose to bind herself to this place. But me, I've been summoned. And the more I resist, the more the land twists to fit me, or break me. I still have time. But the next offering won't be a tooth. It will want more. 5:48. Something has changed. The morning air feels brittle, like glass about to crack. The light filtering through the shutters is gray, not golden, cold, not gentle. The animals didn't greet the dawn. No bowing. No movement. They're watching again. From a distance this time, like they're waiting to see which version of me steps outside. 6:22. I walked to the willow tree, the one from yesterday, the one where the scarf had been. It's gone now. Not just the scarf. The entire tree, where it once stood, there's now a ring of blackened earth. Perfectly circular, as if scorched by something too old to burn with fire. I stepped inside the circle before I could stop myself. Immediately, a wave of nausea hit me. A taste metallic, sweet, like overripe fruit left in the sun. My vision pulsed. A high-pitched ringing flooded my ears. And then I heard something below the soil. Something moving, wet, slow, alive. 6:46. I fell, or collapsed. I'm not sure. When I opened my eyes, the sun was higher, but the light still felt wrong. Everything had a green tint, like I was seeing through algae-covered glass. And then I noticed my hands. The skin around the bite, the one that had healed, was peeling again. Not bleeding. Peeling like bark. Beneath it, something fibrous. Pale and veined, something not entirely human. I tore off the loose skin. No pain. No blood. Just a quiet, hollow sound, like roots tearing free. 800. The house is colder. I found condensation on the mirrors. Except there are no mirrors in the house. I checked. I know I checked. There were none before. But this morning, in the second-floor hallway, the one that's been locked until now, the door was wide open. And at the end of that hallway, hanging from a chain embedded in the ceiling, was a long, thin mirror. Old, fogged, but reflecting. I stepped toward it slowly. My footsteps made no sound. And then I saw her. Me, but not me now. Me in the future, or something pretending to be. eyes hollow, mouth open just slightly. Skin rough and pale, hair tangled with dry leaves and strands of moss. She raised her hand and I didn't. The reflection moved on its own. She placed her hand against the glass, and from the other side, I saw spores bloom where her palm touched. Tiny, bright yellow spores, like the ones I saw near the hollow tree. Then she smiled. That's when I ran. 9:30 at... I can't keep pretending I don't feel it. There's something inside me now. A presence, a whisper. Not words yet, but intention. It's learning how I think, how I fear, how I yield, and worse, it's hungry. 10:17 I cooked today, nothing fancy, just kale, carrots, some roots I picked fresh. I didn't touch the truffles. I buried them deep in the woods this morning, wrapped in fabric, like a burial. But the house still smells like them. That fungal, meaty perfume is soaked into the wood. It clings to my clothes, my skin. When I brought my bowl of food to the table, I saw something scratched into the wood grain. Not fresh. Deep, old. What you consume consumes you. 11:41. The animals are getting restless. The pig with the white patch paces near the back door. The geese no longer blink when I pass. Even the dogs, once indifferent, now sit perfectly still, facing the garden like sentinels. And then I heard the sound again. From the basement. That heartbeat. Thump, thump. Pause. Thump. But now, it's joined by something else. A cracking noise. Like roots splitting stone. Like something pushing upward. Trying to surface. 1:03 p.m. The main garden has rotted. Overnight. Tomatoes burst open, spilling black ichor. Pumpkins collapsed inward like lungs deflating. The kale is stiff, curled inward like hands folded for prayer. And in the center of the patch, I found a hole about the size of a basket. Perfectly round, clean edges. Lined with webbing, not spider silk, something denser. Slick, stretching downward. I dropped a stone into it. I never heard it land. 2:15 p.m. I went back inside. I tried to read. I tried to journal. I tried to distract myself with plans, ways to leave, to sell, to burn the place down if I had to. But when I sat on the floor, trying to catch my breath, my lips whispered a word I didn't know. Sirth. It came out like a cough, like a command, like a name spoken through me. And in that moment, every candle in the room snuffed itself out. 3:33 p.m. There's knocking. Not at the door, from inside the walls. Rhythmic, deliberate. From behind the kitchen, from under the floor. From somewhere in the attic, the pact is breaking. Or maybe I'm breaking it. 4:09 a.m. I didn't sleep. I didn't even try. The knocking hasn't stopped, only moved. It's circling now. One wall to another, sometimes beneath the floorboards, sometimes above the ceiling, like something pacing, or counting, or closing in. I waited until the night thinned, until that strange gray light returned to the sky, when darkness no longer feels complete, but the sun hasn't yet dared to rise. Then I packed a small bag, flashlight, rope, knife, gloves, notebook, and the scarf. I don't know why I took it. It just felt right. I stepped into the garden. The earth crunched beneath my boots, brittle, as if it had already died. The air smelled sour, like compost and cold stone. I approached the hole. It was wider than yesterday, as if it had been waiting for me to choose. 4:47 a.m. The descent began. The rope held barely. The walls were slick and pulsing, like the inside of a throat. My gloves caught strands of webbed slime and thin rootlets that recoiled at my touch. About 10 meters down, the passage widened into a chamber. A hollow, but not natural. Not entirely carved. Walls marked with thousands of handprints, some small, some long-fingered, all pressed into the clay with deliberate reverence. In the center, a stone table. Upon it, remnants of offerings, bones, dried herbs, feathers, strands of hair braided tight and sealed in wax, but no rot. No decay. Everything here was preserved. Waiting. I stepped forward and placed the scarf on the table, and the chamber responded. A gust of wind, impossible underground, swept around me, curling the hair around my face. stirring the dust like breath. And then I heard it, a voice, not in my ears. Inside me, you carry the scent of the severed. You bear the memory of the break. Will you kneel? 503. My knees hit the stone floor before I could decide. Not because of submission, not fear. Because something opened inside me. A memory, no, not mine, surged through my bones. Flashes. Hilda, kneeling in the same place, offering her braid. Another woman, older, sobbing as she pressed a tooth to the soil. Another pregnant chanting into a ring of crows. Another, all the way back. Generations, lines of women, all bound to this place. And then a woman I'd never seen before. Her hair dark like mine, her eyes fierce. Standing not as caretaker, but as rebel, my mother. She wasn't kneeling, she was screaming. Her hands covered in blood, cradling a bundle wrapped in blue, the scarf, her body shivering. Her mouth open in a voiceless cry as roots tore from the walls around her, dragging her toward the hollow. And she made a choice. She cut the bundle from herself, threw it upward out of the pit. A sacrifice. Me. 515A. I collapsed, shaking, breathing shallow. The truth is heavier than I ever imagined. I wasn't just called here by blood. I was born here, pulled from the womb of this place, and my mother fled. She broke the pact, and the land remembers. And now it wants balance, not revenge. Restoration. 533. The roots began to move. From every wall, they reached out, slow, gentle, wrapping around my arms, legs, waist, not crushing, not strangling, cradling. I should have panicked, but I didn't, because the heartbeat had returned. Thump! Thump! Pause. Thump! But this time, it matched mine. And then the voice again. You are not punished. You are not spared. You are the trial. 600. When I emerged, the sun was rising. Real sun. Warmth spread across the garden like a blessing. The animals were gathered again, but no longer in judgment. In welcome, and in the center of them, waiting near the porch, the white-patched pig, he bowed, truly bowed, and turned his back, disappeared into the woods. 644. Back inside the house, I washed my hands, changed clothes, and stared at my reflection in the kitchen window. The bite on my hand had completely disappeared, and something new had taken its place. A small spiral scar, like a fingerprint carved into skin. A mark of passage. 703. The sun is warmer than it's been in days. Birdsong returns, not the sharp mechanical patterns I heard when I arrived, but something looser, older, the kind of sound that feels unscripted. Wild. I step outside with bare feet. The soil feels soft, damp, familiar. The house doesn't creak anymore. It breathes, and I think it's waiting for my answer. 817. I walk to the edge of the woods. The pig is gone. So are the geese, the dogs too. But I don't feel abandoned. I feel cleared. Like they've stepped aside to let me pass. I followed the trail toward the dead tree, the hollow one. The one that first showed me its heart. And when I reached it, I saw that it had opened. The wound at its center had split wider. Not violently, but like a mouth finally ready to speak. The slime is gone, replaced by light. A pale blue glow, not cold. Not sterile, it pulses. Like it's remembering me. 912. I stepped inside. The hollow was much larger than before. I had to crawl at first, but then the walls gave way, revealing a chamber carved within the living wood. Circular, smooth, and in the center a pool, still, silent, glowing faintly. The color of moonlight filtered through milk. This was not water. This was memory. I could feel it before I even touched it, like static across my skin, like grief wrapped in silk. The pool shimmered with images, fleeting, blurred. Faces, laughter, screams, birth, death, seeds cracking open, roots splitting rock, soil folding over bone. This was not just the heart of the tree, this was the womb of the land. And it wanted a decision. 944. I sat beside the pool, It spoke to me without words. Two choices. Stay, let go, become, offer not just a piece, but the whole. In return, silence, peace, purpose. I would no longer be just a person. I would be part of the land's memory, rooted, preserved, remembered. Like Hilda, like the others, like the voices that have long since turned to moss, leave, cut the thread, reject the rhythm. Walk away carrying not legacy but infection. The land will not punish, but it will follow, through dreams, through children, through everything I touch, until another is born who remembers without wanting to. And then came the final truths. The land doesn't want worship, it wants understanding. But if it cannot be understood, it will survive through hunger. 10:20. I took the scarf from my bag, placed it on the ground. I took off the necklace I hadn't removed since I was 13, a cheap silver chain my mother gave me the week before she vanished. And I placed it beside the scarf. Then I stood, and I whispered, I remember her. I remember me, but I do not belong here. I turned my back to the pool, and the tree did not stop me. No roots lashed out, no voices screamed. Just silence, a deep, weighted stillness, like a goodbye or a warning. 11:11. I'm back at the house. Everything is quiet now. Not peaceful, empty, like the land is holding its breath. My backpack is packed. I've charged my phone. My car is waiting beyond the rusted gate, but as I reach for the doorknob, I hesitate because I know what the choice means. Leaving doesn't end it. It just begins the long echo. 5:05 a.m. The house is silent, too silent. No creaks, no wind, no animal sounds beyond the walls, just my own breath and the rhythmic beat of my heart, slow, steady, but not quite alone anymore. I can feel it, the rhythm beneath the floorboards. Still there, still waiting. 5:47 a.m. I've packed what little I came with. The rest, the photos, the keys, the scarf, the books I've left behind. Not out of fear, but respect. Some things don't belong in the world outside. Some things shouldn't be remembered through photographs or analysis, but through silence, through instinct, through the earth. 600 me. I stood at the threshold of the front door, hand resting on the wooden frame, and I whispered something I didn't plan to say. I understand now. And the door opened itself, just like it did the first time. But this time, it felt like the land was letting me go, not forgiving. Not forgetting, just releasing. 7:12. I drove down the winding red clay road, past the eucalyptus trees that bent slightly in my direction, as if nodding. When I looked in the rearview mirror, I expected to see the house fading behind me. I didn't, just mist. Thick and golden, like a curtain drawn gently across a stage. 11:43. I'm at a gas station now, somewhere between the farm and the city. I wash my hands in the restroom twice, but I can still see it. The spiral scar on my palm, faint now, but permanent, like a seal, like a root still buried deep beneath the skin. I spoke to the clerk at the counter, a teenage boy with chipped nails and a bored expression. When he handed me change, he paused, looked at my hand. Cool tattoo, he said, but I hadn't told him I had one. 12:31 p.m. I'm back in the city. The noise is unbearable. So many voices, so many lives. So much forgetting. Skyscrapers hum with artificial light. Concrete drowns out the beat of the earth. People pass by like flickers, thin shadows, untethered. And yet, when I closed my eyes at a red light, I felt it. The pulse, still in me. Still awake, like a seed waiting. 9:04 p.m. I saw her today, in the mirror. Just for a second, the version of me from the second-floor hallway. The one with moss in her hair, the one whose eyes glowed faint blue. She smiled, and then faded. 11:58 p.m. I wrote a letter tonight to someone I haven't spoken to in years. My cousin, her name is Elise. She's 24, newly divorced. Lost, wandering. Just like I was, I told her about the farm, about the peace, about the silence. And I included the deed. One day, she'll receive it. And if she chooses to go, the land will greet her. the animals will bow, and the house will open its doors. Just like it did for me, because this story, it never really belonged to me. I was only a vessel, an echo, a keeper. Every land remembers the women who walk it with bare feet and open palms. Not all are chosen, but some are called